Hello! Welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna talk about movies again. Woohoo. Anyway, what movie are we talking about? We're talking about Creed 2. Why? Because A, I really want to talk about Creed 2, and B, I haven't seen Spider-Verse, Bumblebee, or Aquaman yet, so yeah, there's that. Anyway, let's go talk about Creed 2, or I'll just go talk about Creed 2 on my own, because you guys aren't in the video with me. You're just watching me from wherever you are in the world right now, which is a good thing, because, I mean, you guys might enjoy my videos. If you don't, that's fine. I don't hate you. Anyway, let's go talk about Creed 2. So, long story short, I think the first Rocky movie is one of the greatest movies ever made. I also really like the sequels. Rocky 2, 3, and 4 were also great. I mean, 5 was a piece of crap, but nobody cares about that movie, so moving on. Yeah, I did like the 6th movie, but if someone had pranked me into thinking that was the last Rocky movie we were ever gonna see, I genuinely would have believed them. But then Creed came out, and now it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I actually cannot describe how much I love the first Creed. It's one of those many movies that inspire me. It's a film that constantly reminds me how desperately I want to break into the film industry. Creed 2 does understandably have a lot riding on its shoulders. For one, it's the 8th movie in a franchise, and also there's that whole thing about the sequels being obligated to be just as good, if not better than the first one for some reason, because yeah, that totally always happens. That being said, Creed 2 is up there with Mission Impossible Fallout, Avengers Infinity War, and A Quiet Place as one of my favorite movies of the entire year. This movie was incredible. I have basically no faults with this movie at all. I'm not even kidding. The cast all around are spectacular. Michael B. Jordan has become one of my favorite actors working today. Even when he's in a bad movie, he still puts everything he's got into the performance. Seriously, this guy was the only thing that kept me going through Fantastic Four. And once again, this dude absolutely kills it. He does a fantastic job of conveying emotions like anger, pain, and conflict just with the look in his eyes. In the first movie, people can relate to him because he was a man who had dreams as well as a legacy that he felt he needed to aspire to. But in this one, he's trying to balance what is essentially revenge with real personal problems. This movie actually focuses on how Creed's need to aspire to the legacy that his father left behind affects his personal life with his loved ones, and matters only get worse when Creed goes on a path of revenge when Ivan Drago, the man who killed Apollo Creed, Adonis' father, returns with his son Victor Drago to challenge Creed to a fight. The conflict that this creates for Adonis is explored with a lot of depth, as Adonis spends a lot of time trying to figure out if he's really doing this fight for his father, for revenge, or to prove something to himself or others. Wisely, the writers chose to make the conflict the center of the movie. If that conflict wasn't there, this movie could have just as easily been your typical revenge story with all the typical revenge story cliches just in a boxing movie. Granted, some of the cliches like the protagonist being angry a lot of the time are there, but because they mix that up with him dealing with his relationship with his family and Rocky, as well as wondering if a fight is even worth it, it makes it all interesting. The main fight actually has a lot of weight and drama behind it, not just because of the bad blood between the Dragos and the Creeds, but also because the filmmakers do a really great job at fleshing out the Dragos. I'm serious, the Dragos in this movie are not just the crazy strong bad guys with bigger biceps than I can ever dream of, or the guys that just glare at everyone and get pissed off all the time. I was really surprised at how much behind the scenes drama there was with Ivan Drago and his son. When I first watched Rocky 4, I didn't see Ivan Drago as anything more than this huge, ridiculously strong dude that chilled me to the bone. So to see so many layers added to this character as well as his son Victor really took me aback. That's something that this movie does completely different from all the other Rocky movies. It makes you understand and care about the villains. In the other movies, even in the first Creed movie, you understand the villains, but the movies do everything they can to make you hate them so you can root for the good guys. That isn't necessarily a bad thing, but the fact that so much depth was added to the Dragos in Creed 2 was really refreshing. Dolph Lundgren and Florian Munteanu, you know what, I probably butchered the hell out of both of those names, so anyway. Both of these actors have fantastic chemistry together and work off each other amazingly. Their performances were a lot more subdued and grounded than I was expecting, particularly Lundgren, and that really helps to make these characters feel a lot more real and grounded when compared to someone like Mr. T as Clubber Lang in Rocky 3, although I did frickin' love that guy. Sylvester Stallone in the role that is iconic to him? Yeah, he's great in this movie as Rocky Balboa. This and his performance in the first Creed might just be my favorite Stallone performance ever. It's interesting because when he's playing a really down-to-earth guy like Rocky Balboa, he feels like a real person.
You could see it in his facial expressions, his mannerisms, and you can even hear it in his voice. On the other hand, when he's playing someone like Barney Ross in The Expendables, he just comes across as a loud, obnoxious, and crazy over-the-top guy. He feels like a cartoon character that walked onto the wrong set. Basically, that entire trilogy in a nutshell. Rocky has a really cool arc in this movie, having to deal with the estrangement from his child and his family, so there's just as much on Rocky's shoulders as everyone else. And that's something else that this movie does brilliantly. Almost every character in this movie has something going on, and the director Stephen Caple Jr. balances everyone's drama perfectly to create a story that is just as dramatic as it is thrilling. Tessa Thompson is awesome. She gives such an emotional and heartbreaking performance. Stephen Caple Jr. directed the heck out of this movie, particularly the boxing and the training scenes. The boxing and training scenes in this movie are easily some of the most intense in the franchise. Me and my brother, who I went to see this movie with, were shaking like hell during the fight scenes. Every punch felt like it connected. It always felt like there was an impact. You can tell from the first few seconds of a boxing match in this film that a crap ton of effort was put into it. If the actors actually had to have actual boxing matches in order to film these scenes, I would not be surprised. Admittedly, while all the fight scenes are very, very good, none of them really got me as much as the one-take fight scene from the first Creed movie. But then again, I can see why they wouldn't do another one-take scene, considering the fact that a lot of directors like to put their own stamp on franchises like the Rocky/Creed franchise. Some people may criticize this movie for using a similar formula to the other Rocky movies. In fact, this movie does reuse certain plot elements from previous movies, particularly Rocky 3 and 4. I wouldn't really consider that a bad thing though, because the first Creed movie did follow the basic Rocky movie formula, but it did it with great direction, amazing acting, dialogue, and storytelling. In that respect, this movie is no different. Yeah, there are some franchises that have benefited from changing the formula. Fast and Furious, for example, went from street racing movies to over-the-top guilty pleasure action movies, and it was great. The franchise has enjoyed success both critically and financially. But then there's franchises like Predator that did try to change the formula, and yeah, I'm not talking about that movie again. With all that said, I kinda hope this is the last Creed movie, partly because everything just feels complete at the end of this one, and all the character arcs seem to have come to a satisfying end, so there's almost no point in trying to work in a third movie, because there's nothing to work off. Second, it was around the third movie that the Rocky movies started getting really silly, and in a lot of cases really, really dumb. The Creed movies just do not fit the tone that was present in Rocky 3 and 4 for that matter, and if there's a risk of that tone carrying over into a third movie, I'd rather just stick with Creed 1 and 2. As it stands, I think Creed 2 is actually just as good as the first movie. I think both movies are equally as good as each other. Creed 2 was a total blast, and I loved every minute of it. Creed 2 gets a 10 out of 10.
So, guys, those are my thoughts on Creed 2. I do hope you enjoyed this video. As you can see, it's gotten ridiculously dark now, so yeah, it's good that I'm ending the video here because I don't really want to be recording all night as much as I do enjoy making videos. Anyway, what did you guys think of Creed 2? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Did you think it was somewhere in the middle? Please leave your thoughts down in the comments below. And please don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, if you want. Not forcing you. Anyway, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.